we're good. So, everybody, welcome to the Garden of Great Work. I've got a very special guest today, the bassist of the black metal / metal band Mayhem, with Necrobutcher, who has authored a memoir about the band and its history called The Death Archives Mayhem 1984 to 1994. So, welcome, Necrobutcher.
Thank you.
And how are you today?
Yep. Yeah, as you know, it's in the middle of the Christmas holidays, shops are
Right.
closed, Corona and all this stuff going on. But, all in all, doing pretty good.
Would be nice when this year is over, right?
Yeah, it got into a good start for Mayhem. We were around, did some gigs in Russia, and we just finished a long European tour. And we went over to America and doing a pre-production there. I think we arrived.
You have some dates lined up in Las Vegas, I see, right?
Yeah,
Like
that was the festival Psycho Las Vegas that got moved. Was supposed to be in October or September or something. Yeah, no, we were actually in the States the 5th, I think, of March. We rented a venue in Chicago to do some pre-production, and we were on the way down to Denver for our first gig, and then actually just had to turn around, find an airport, and get the fuck out of there. Basically, ever since, everything is been scheduled. I mean, cancelled after that. So here we are, 9 months later.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting around waiting for the stuff to, get started again. But it's not just like we can be doing it. It's like now a lot of the logistics and shit has been fucked on the, so for us to make it happen, everything has to be there. The nightliner, the backliner, all these different people we work with to make it happen. The airliners, I mean, I look at Lufthansa and stuff, they sacked 30,000 people. Same thing in the States, Delta and stuff, they just sacked 100,000 people. Yeah, so it's going to take time for these people to get back to work and to,
Yeah.
And so we're going to be effective for a long time. Not only, it's going to be, fuck knows, really. I hope for the festivals next summer.
Yeah. So it's kind of mayhem, right now.
It's total fucking mayhem. Just sounding like it.
And
But
so
also, but to be for a person on a personal level.
Yeah.
After a couple of months, I just realized. First of all, I was out bicycling, tanning, smoking weed, enjoying the summer and stuff. And then I started to think to myself, fuck, I haven't had a holiday since 1996.
Yeah.
So I started, with that in mind, trying to turn it around for the positive and thinking, fuck, an extended holidays. As long as everything is back on later, that everything is postponed and not finished forever, then it will be okay, It's just, but the sucky thing is that when I am off, normally I like to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's not happening now. So that's a little downer.
Yeah. So you got a lot of downtime, and I definitely appreciate you coming on. This is a great opportunity. You might, get some new fans here because it's a little different audience, I'd say, but they're all good people. And I know there's definitely some metalheads around. I'm a metalhead, and I say that all the time. anything I'm doing, I'm always, blasting heavy metal. I need that aggression, that it's kind of like in your book, when you started the band, right? I mean, it was kind of like it was an outlet for a lot of the aggression, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it was. Just. Yeah, it was a good thing for me and people like myself that was not really into sports and the other things that was going on for young people at the time.
Yeah.
In Norway. And actually, there was some facilities provided by the county that they picked up on these people that didn't really fit into the really norm, like and also managed to pick those people up. Like, for example, what they did with us, that the county made a rehearsal place available for us.
Yeah.
We never saw any. We had to fix it up ourselves. It was just a basement in a barn.
Yeah.
But I mean, they paid for it. We did the carpenter works and stuff. My uncle did the electric work, and we never saw any electric bills or anything like that for all the years we were there. At the time, we just took it for granted, But thinking back at it, I'm thinking, like that was also part of it, because it's hard to find a rehearsal place.
Right. I know. Over here, you got to buy them and stuff. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a lot of a lot of things to take in consideration. It makes a lot of noise. It takes up a lot of electricity, all kinds of different things.
But you had that drive, and you got there. You started to play, right? And so you met. Hieronymus, and you guys got together, and so I remember one of the first things you mentioned was a contest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because that back then, we're talking 85 now.
Yeah.
And so there is no market for this music. There is no venues. There was nothing. So to be able to play in front of an audience, that was the only option we saw at the time to get into this rock competition. That's what it was. It was a rock competition for like around Oslo, or actually around the whole Norway. All the rock groups in all the cities would get together, and then they would have this rock competition, and the best ones would go to a final, and then the one that won the final would call themselves the Norwegian champions of rock.
Mm-hmm.
And then could record a single or something like that.
Yeah.
That was the thing. And of course also play at this Rockefeller rock club, which was a legendary club in Oslo. I also when I was a kid or a juvenile, that was a dream. When I picture myself on stage, that was the stage I was picturing myself on.
Right.
And of course, we got there, and I enjoyed that venue many times, and been kicked out of that venue many times too, for that matter. Yes.
Because what this interview really I'd like to highlight is that you came up with that willpower, you had that drive to do it, and you overcame a lot of obstacles along the way to get to where you are today.
Yep.
And that's a good thing. I mean, that's admirable.
Yep.
Thank you. You guys were able to play some.
But you know what? I think, when you are that, if you have something you really burn for.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't. I mean, there's no limits to where you can go with that, you know. And for us who were into this kind of aggressive metal at the start, when this thing was born, basically. So
you're playing some Venom songs, and
yeah, I mean, we also was influenced. Of course, we were influenced like everybody else are influenced. But at the same time, we were so early on that we were influenced, yes. But when we started to play together, what came out of you know, how we were thinking, that was the notes, and how it was played, that was our abilities, you know, and stuff like that. So it became something unique. We made something unique, and we knew it. Like, nobody sounded like us.
Yeah.
So and we were so early on that we were together with all these other bands that you would say are the foundation of this kind of music today. So let's say you start a black metal, a death metal, a thrash metal band today.
Yeah.
It's very hard to not be compared to everything that's come out the last 35 years.
You have to be original, otherwise you just kind of blend in.
Unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of really fucking good music that goes under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, and then, you know, so that's, but that's a good thing also that, I mean, for this kind of music, it's interesting to see that if you're interested in metal, it's not even enough to just be a fan and listen to it. You need to start to play it yourself. That's very unique with this metal thing. I mean, it doesn't happen in pop or other or shitloads of other. I mean, you have people going to concerts, Justin Bieber concerts and stuff. They don't start boy bands. You know, like, it's not like it. But the metal world,
yeah,
they're all playing in bands, and this is the beautiful thing. Like, it's not it. So they get so dedicated into the stuff and those also have fans again, and you know, would start new bands. It's like the family or the metal scene and everything, because of its structure, has been growing like none other type of music has, and are now taking over the billboards in all the countries. First it was just like Finland, Sweden, Norway, Germany with some power things, and you know, I don't know how. I mean, Slayer probably in the billboards in the States, but I'm not talking about first place. But you see the shift. You know, like you said, you were looking for something more aggressive because of the world. I can feel it. I mean, when I'm 52 years old, when I grew up, it was like I mean, nothing like this.
Yeah. Yeah, like for the listeners on my video here, I kind of got into Mayhem this year, and it was because of all the frustration and hardships I was going through. That I need something darker, faster, harder than. I mean, I listen to some pretty heavy metal, you know, I Slayer, Sepultura, old Sepultura anyway, but you know, stuff like that. But I was like, man, I felt like I was just, you know, almost like possessed by darkness earlier in the year, and it was just like this misery state. And I was like, I need something more. I found Mayhem,
but it helped you, obviously.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big point, because I like to make it clear to people. It's like, it's not always about being positive all the time. Sometimes we just kind of need to be miserable and not deny it, but see, like, music like this helps me through it. You know what I mean? It's like, just
very good point.
Let it go through. Don't deny it and try to put this mask on and be like, I'm happy and positive, when you're not feeling that way, because then you're just faking it to yourself.
Yeah.
And
no, it's musical therapy for sure. I mean,
exactly what it is. Definitely.
I use music for therapy, and but I don't think about it that way. I call it music for different things. Yeah. Like, I have very aggressive music when I do the dishes.
Yeah.
When I eat, I need to have more relaxed, atmospheric music.
Yeah.
I even listen to music when I read books, and sometimes, or when I'm in my car, for example, I listen to music that I don't listen to anywhere else, like CC Top, for example. I
Mm-hmm.
find that very nice to drive with this kind of music. So
Yeah.
it's music for all kinds of moods, and
Mm-hmm.
it's music for when you are dealing with hardships too. You're heartbroken. I listen to Depeche Mode to
Yeah.
to get me up.
You see,
Uh,
Euronymous
or,
listened to
or
Tears for Fears, right? Euronymous is.
Euronymous is a huge fan, but yeah, they had a couple really good songs.
They did. I like them, to be honest.
Shout,
Yeah.
and a couple pretty well played also, and these
Everyone
people were
wants to
actually
rule the world.
musicians. They
Yeah.
were not like this uh, the record companies made stars, like put
Yeah.
like boy bands or this one-time hits. These two guys who had that band, they were actually playing all the music instrument themselves also. They
Yeah.
made the songs because at that time in 85, 84 and stuff when that band popped up,
Yeah.
all the bands had all the songwriters. There were
Mm.
songwriters, and then there was the artists. There was not so many artists that really did the music at the same time. And coming out from that time in England, like first it was like Joy Division and some bands
Yeah.
like that, and then that opened up for all those bands. I mean, there was a shitloads like Soft Cell, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and all those. Uh, uh, which category to put it in?
Hmm.
Uh, but there was something, there was something truth in there
Yeah.
that Øystein picked up on. For example, this guy Jimmy Somerville and stuff. Like when there was the the frustration that they were homosexuals, and
Yeah.
that was not good.
Yeah.
That small village they were from, they were bullied,
Right.
and they sing about it.
Mm.
And then you sing about bad, but they took bad experiences and made it heartbreaking songs about it, like.
Mhm.
And so that's partly true. They managed to put their own feelings into the
Right.
thing, and then
It's
it
better
hit
to
somewhere.
have
They
that.
hit, you felt it. It's the same with us. Like
Right.
we
Definitely.
had also songs that we did for ourselves for our own reasons, but
Yeah.
but we, it's based on life experiences or when we are in our darkest moments when these
Right.
things are written.
Yeah. And that's the
And
thing.
all
It's
the
like.
people, all the people pick up on that,
Yeah.
and the same, so it's uh, it's something about the honesty of the artist that is
Absolutely.
very easy to pick up to
Yeah.
see if this artist is really genuine. Let's say.
And one thing I say is like it's good. Those outlets are very, very healthy things, even if it's a negative expression, rather than holding it inside and then doing something really dumb and getting yourself in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah,
It's like here's an outlet, in a way you can express yourself. Humans need to express themselves. It's just part of our nature, and it's
yeah,
not always pleasant. But it's like this
yeah,
music, and it actually did help me. Like it helped me this year get through some of the.
yeah,
I had some dark times in the fall. I deal with depression and whatnot, and it's hard not to be depressed in this whole shitstorm of fucking
yeah,
coronavirus. and
yeah, yeah.
so it helped me, and
So
it's great. And I ended up getting this book. I read a lot about Pell for the listeners. I've got some candles going for
yep,
his, fallen comrades in the band. And you wrote this book, and you had it written for some time, right, before it was published?
Yeah, I mean, in my head, it was pretty much written in my head many years before,
Yeah.
as the follow-up that I'm writing now.
Awesome.
It's just a matter of putting it together, and yeah, it's a lot of work, and I have other things that I'm dealing with simultaneously, and but it takes. I mean, it's. I'm not in a hurry,
Right.
so, and I have all the material here. So basically, I since I mean, this idea about this book about the band and stuff came about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. This idea started to pop up, and then more and more people approach me about it. Different journalists, people who are authors, journalists, and also other writers that have, not never did any books, but you know, that they could be interesting. And suddenly I found this guy that he was this nerdy guy that remembered all the details from when we were talking about we played in Leipzig many years ago. And he would say, yeah, that was the 26th of November. The venue was called Ice Keller. It was close to this and this railway station. I'm like, wow. Shit.
Yeah.
So
wow.
He was like that with everything. So the few things I didn't remember, he remembered that, and so very nerdy thing, and yeah. So then it all came together. That I was looking for that right ghostwriter, because basically, and everybody who knows me, when the first feedback I heard from the book was that it sounded like they were sitting next to me, just right here, my couch, flipping through my photo albums and talking about the old days.
Yeah.
And because it's my voice.
Yeah.
He has it's dictaphone. So how I speak, how I formulate things and stuff. This is me who's talking. That he just used my words.
Right.
So his job was more like to find out which stories is good, which stories is, and then pushed me on a little bit more information where he thought that, okay, there's a hole here. We have to give more information about this and this character, to explain that in the book, so it makes sense and stuff. And of course, those things were harder to get into. For obvious reasons, and that because it didn't came out straight away. So we were like back and forward for a year. We went through all my pictures. I just emptied everything I remember basically from the first 10 years, and then he wrote down everything, and then found out where the holes were and stuff, and so it made me talk about the other things to bind the stuff together, and then it came together, and now we're doing the same thing. I picked up all the photos that I'm going to use. I was actually surprised myself
I can't wait to get that.
How many fucking photos I actually had from 93 to 2005, which is the next book. And there is reasons. The main reason to make it 3 books is that otherwise it would be like 1,500 pages. It would be like massive undertaking. It was easier to divide it up, and now we're finished with the first 10 years, and the next one is going to be also where we change some members in the band. Obviously, after 93 we have lost 2 band members. We start kind of over again. And
Blasphemer
then
and Maniac.
With Maniac and Blasphemer. So it was natural to end it where Maniac where he
ways.
when he finished in 2005.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the next. And there's another very important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is some kind of a photo book, also, I mean, there's more photos than actually the stories. There's a 250 pages book, so in 2005, suddenly everybody had their digital camera in their pockets.
Right.
So the art of photographing to take photos was altered.
Right.
Radically. Because back in the days you had a camera and then you snatched for a film. You couldn't see anything on any displays or anything. You sent the film in, it was 34 or 36 pictures. When you got it back from the photo lab, half of them was out of focus, with half heads, like when you take photos, like it's not. So I always took these disposable cameras with me on tours in the studios and also on my private life.
Yeah,
I never owned a camera as such. I always used these disposable cameras because it was an easy thing. And so the art of photograph is over, and I also stopped taking that because I also have that now,
Yeah.
And now I think it's not the same, it's you can't even compare it.
Right.
Today, people like I think people now actually most people don't even look like their pictures on social medias.
A lot of people will put these the filters over and make their face all touched up and stuff. It's not even real, and it's like, man, why would you do that? Like,
So that's how far it came from taking photos,
Yeah.
And back in the days, when you had some photos that was kind of clean, let's say 5 guys in the band, so a couple of them would blink. So, you would have the red eyes, the hair would be strange or whatever. So, but you had to go with it. That's what it was. So it was
capture the moment.
Capture the moment, and this book, obviously I had thousands of pictures to choose from, and in photo sessions with half-watt professional photographers and stuff. But for the next book, it's all going to be mine, because then we alter into another square, and that's where every fucking record we have has a photo session. And those photo sessions have been sent out to all the magazines, and they're all over the internet. And when I came up with this first book here, this was my photos that I had, had at my house. Some of them people have seen before, but that's because it was leaked from my house. Now, this new 2,000 photos is going to be coming down to maybe 300 or something. It's all mine, and most of them have never been seen before at all. So that's also something I think that's a treat for the Mayhem fans. Like this is a scoop into on the private square. Seen from my eyes. Also, so
inner circle.
I had this couple of drawers full of photos.
Right.
So I went through that a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually amazed to see that I knew I had some gold there, but it was just way beyond. I'm just so much looking forward to to get this new book out and stuff to show everybody. I mean, all the people has just let out everything on online on their social platforms, and that's good. And when I got on Facebook like 9 years ago or something, I thought to myself I was going to do that myself.
Right.
Take some photos now and then, post on the social medias just for the fans to enjoy, Yeah. But then I start to realize that maybe it's better that I present these photos with a little story in the real way, and get together with some professional people who knows about books. So this book, for example, is from the biggest publisher, the big, also the company's been there for over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
The editor, the people we work with on this is just hand-picked people from the top level of printing, of
publishing,
all the levels.
Yeah.
And then Thurston Moore picked up the book.
He seems like a great guy. I don't know. I mean, I don't know him, but he's, watching your interview, because I watched, you had a long interview with him on the kind of like a stage, and you were kind of had like these wine glasses, and you were just chatting with him for like an hour and a half. I saw that was really nice. He seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah,
nice.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. We have a lot in common. Right. We are, we like alternative music.
I remember I had a Sonic Youth CD when I was younger. It had the washing machines on it. It was like the blue shirts with the washing machines or something like that. I remember that, yeah. Well, it was nice reading your book, how the photos, it was perfectly blended, like you're talking about the photos and telling the stories. That's exactly how it was. It was like, I read a lot. I don't know if you can tell. Usually I have books all the way up here, but I just took them so I could, pay some respects to your buddies. And I'm just, I was reading through it. It pulled me into the story, right? And it's really cool because you got pictures along the way, perfectly balanced, and you're just kind of like, it's kind of like you're there,
Yeah. It's very intense. It's very intense, and it's like it's almost unbelievable, like every fucking story when we're talking about everything, and then when you're looking at the photos, it's exactly.
Like
you are there. You are there, even with the pictures. Maybe sometimes it's good if people have their own picture in their head when they read books.
Yeah.
And that's nice, for this kind of books. But for this kind of book, the more information you can put in, the better it is.
Yeah. I loved it. I read it very quickly because it was just like one of those things where you don't even realize you're reading because you're just so pulled into the story.
Yeah. And also the way how it turned out to be. Actually, in the beginning of the book, I must confess that read back at it, there was some a little bit heavy in the beginning because we need to explain and put the reader into their mind and to explain on the people, so you don't have to explain that all over again afterwards.
Yeah.
But when you start on the very few pages, you get into it, and then the rest of it is just small stories. Some of them is just 1 page, some of them are 5, some of them are 10. And it's also compressed, obviously. So the stories is like we take the best parts of the stories also and try to compromise it. So the flow of when you read it, you get into this kind of flow where it's, like you said, it's easy to read, just watching it, and suddenly you're on the next page and, whatnot. Suddenly you finish the book. It's not that, I read a lot of books too, and some books taking me shitloads of time to get through, but some books I was like, some other books that just poured me in, just ended suddenly. After 300 pages, it was finished. It's like, fuck.
I like the part in here, I like the part in here when you were riding in your car and you had Rain and Blood going and your door like fell off or something.
Yeah, I skidded out of the road and did the turbulence. Was blown out of the car. I woke up in the field.
Shit.
To Slayer. That was because I was blown out of the car, and the car has gone on the roof and blew out all the windows. But then it made another crack around, so it landed on the wheels. That's why I was able to drive it back home.
And when you woke up, you had Rain and Blood was in the stereo, right? It sounded like like exactly like something that would have happened to me when I was going through my teenage years. A lot of craziness, but this book it's great.
That was a sweet story, and I thought to myself, like, I sneak in some personal stuff that not necessarily has anything to do with music. But since I am a part of this Mayhem thing, and then it gets important also to shine some light on who I am to explain the whole thing.
Because you had to deal with a lot of, shitty press, over the years because of the things that happened, people that are aware. But if you look at it, most of these really bad things that happened was when you quit for a little while and then things just spun out of control. It wasn't you telling people to go burn any churches down. It was, who Bard got, snagged for that. And he, Euronymous, he went kind of behind your back, got this guy to play bass on an album that you should have been part of. Not to mention the other stuff.
You got the essence. You got the essence in the thing. You're right. So
it's like
from a band's perspective, you can maybe you can. It's hard to compare, but if you can say. It's a little bit like Joy Division, like you're just about to hit it big, go on the road, and then the vocalist kills himself.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to us,
Yeah, exactly. And
then in the aftermath of the craziness, 2 years later, the guitarist is stabbed to death.
That is,
so. But after that. Like you said, all the Maniac things happened the 2 years I was off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that that's not a coincidence.
I brought this up in the review that I did for your book, talking about how it's an incredible kind of willpower to have when your whole band gets ripped in half, but yet you still keep going. And I put the quote at the top of this of my review that you said. It says, "Try to knock us down and we will get back up," or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the quote I put at the very beginning of the review, because that's kind of like the overall thing is that you just kept going even when your whole band is like ripped in half. You got your co-founder, stabbed, and your first singer right when you're about to really get going, took his own life, sadly. And God bless his soul, or with the Creator. If you're not, I'm not religious or anything.
Yeah.
Wherever he is,
At least, they're not stressing with anything much right now.
but you overcame that, which is, it's like.
Yeah, I did. Well, I overcame it, but there's some stuff. You would always carry this shit with you. It will never go away.
And you have,
but at the same time, you must learn to live with it, And there's so much, and I think all the people can, like they have some, like their uncle killed themselves, or like some children in the family dies of disease, or there's always some tragic shit going on in people's life. But that's private and kept inside the family. But when it happens to people who are in the media, and especially musicians, then it's something else. And I have the same thing myself. I mean, when Chuck Schuldiner died, for example, I couldn't listen to Death for years. I was just in tears, because especially Chuck Schuldiner, because of the solos and stuff. It's so the notes he plays is this heartbroken. Also, it's like it's not the aggressive notes. It's not but he managed to hit the sour, notes in there, and so it's actually impossible for me to listen to it for years, actually. And so music, so it's weird how it is when you connect the. So and with that said, I know that people look at my band and feel exactly the same as I do of other artists. Like I can also relate it to Brian Jones from the Stones, or Piggy from Voivod, for example, beloved musicians.
Mm-hmm.
That So I got a different perspective myself and listened to it. The music is different listening to it now, so I know from a fan's perspective that this Mayhem thing is this kind of similar for people, and this is why we have this kind of cult following now. A lot of musicians have died, and people are mourning them. But I
Yeah.
look at my guys are more like they are mourned in a different way. They are kind of, I don't know. I like it because this was my friends, and really like the fact that we are talking about this now,
Yeah.
still so many years later. I
Yeah.
wish that some of my other friends who passed away that they were also been that some other people were interested in them, but no, they are forgotten. Nobody remembers, and it's tragic everything.
Are
But
you talking about the guy? What was his
so
name?
I love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Still, I don't mind doing interviews about it,
Yeah.
and I'm proud of it. I mean, I'm proud on their behalf that
Yeah.
they have become somewhat like now legends.
Yeah.
And this is something I think about sometimes when I'm out touring
Yeah.
on, like sleepless tours in buses or in shanky fucking third world countries and shit. That
Yeah.
you know, that's like I start think to myself sometimes that well, I mean, out here busting my fucking balls, in this third world country.
Yeah.
And but these guys who are in the graveyard, they get all the credit,
I saw
Still,
your
30
listen,
fucking
I
years
saw
later.
I saw
But I
your
like
show
it.
on,
I love it.
was it NRK that where you went to South America? There was a video I saw
Yeah,
where it was like, was it NRK? Is it?
yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
national broadcasting in
Yeah.
Norway. Yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, you went down there. Yeah, I mean, as a new fan, I'm kind of a newcomer to Mayhem. I just got into him recently, for people listening, and like I said, I needed something darker, harder, faster, and I read a lot about the history, and that pulled me in too. It does. It pulls you in, and it's like, and I definitely, feel for Pell having to go through, because, myself, I've gone through a lot of shit too, and it's sad that he, took his own life, but we
yeah,
remember him. We remember the stuff that he left behind,
yeah,
that's kind of immortalized,
yeah.
that work he did here. And
Uh, for me, uh, for me, it's more. It's also just have to blip. I don't think I have COVID, but I was out in the snow here a couple of days
yeah,
ago. So I woke up a little bit snotty now. So fucking shit, the whole thing. Anyways, yeah. Where were we? We were. You said
we
something about.
we were talking about like Pell, like what he left behind. It's like, it's really sad that he took
Uh,
his own life and all that nonsense that had to happen afterwards with Euronymous or whatever. But
yeah,
what he left behind, people still, in 2020 blasting that shit, that
yeah,
the old recordings were dead, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's well deserved. I mean, especially that guy,
Yeah.
true artist.
Yeah, he was. I like the whole part when you were talking about meeting him, and later in the book when you talk about him and how he was, his character. You guys were into extreme things. That's myself too. I'm always, like for me, I like to grow all these poison plants like deadly nightshade and angel's trumpet. I like
Exactly.
scorpions. Um, but
Okay,
yeah.
don't send me anything in the mail.
But yeah, and I like to, research things that are kind of like, dark or what have you, extreme things. It's just kind of like the
Well,
music.
yeah, yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
helps you express what you're going through, I guess, or just an interest. But yeah, I like extreme things, and so this music is perfect in this book. You talked about Dead, and you gave a really in-depth look at who he was as a person, and it's like I could totally like see him as you describe him. I totally get like that kind of person because I see elements of it in other people. Obviously, there's no one like him, but I see some of the basic things when you're talking about him, and kind of like a very artistic person, but kind of likes to fuck with people too. I guess you said that. I was like that. I love to fuck with people. I can't lie, but he was a unique person, one of those one in a million types of people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was kind of like a shining star, just came in quick and
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it made a hell of a impression.
Right.
And a legacy.
Maybe you could tell the listeners how his first communication with you. What did he do? He wrote you a letter, and he included a crucified mouse in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, sending something like that to someone you don't even know, right?
But that's he's testing us,
Yeah, right. That's his.
To see if that was okay, then everything was okay. If we liked it, then everything was really great,
Yeah,
yeah. Actually, I don't know if I communicated to him anything else than that we liked the also we liked Morbid, the tape.
Morbid. He sent you that demo tape.
Yeah, but
you said you threw the mouse back in the back of your truck, and then you put Morbid tape in. It's like, all right, what are you
leather? Actually, the leather blew off my truck.
Right.
Because of the wind. It was a like what do you call it? The pickup truck.
Right.
Because the stench of the leather was so bad that I couldn't have it inside of the vehicle, so that's why I put it on the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then the leather actually blew off and was never found again.
Right.
But I had the tape, and of course the communication line was open. We already knew that he had contacted a guy who had a magazine called Slayer magazine here in Norway. Called himself Metallion.
Mm-hmm.
He was the link between him and us. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I remember reading about him. Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to explain the character in my book, how he was important for the scene, for Mayhem, because he had this magazine, and he was one of the first characters that did something for extreme music in Norway. Maybe the first.
Mm-hmm. And you guys were right there with him.
Yeah, we were. And we were making. He was writing a magazine, but we were making the band. That's just like when he writes in his magazine number 3 that came out in '85, where he writes about Mayhem, and he's like the first words was like, I couldn't believe that there was such a band existed in Norway at the time. Like he was so surprised about the whole thing. And he writes, that's just like, because he couldn't, that was it was so overwhelming that he actually wrote it in the article, in the first article he writes about us. Yeah. And I think that, it tells a little bit about how small the community here in Norway at the time. The same thing with Øystein. I was the only guy who liked Venom. And Venom was the most aggressive and satanic band that anybody heard of in 1982-83.
Right.
I was the only one in my area that actually liked it. And when I met Øystein, the first thing we will start to talk about is just like when what is the first thing you convert about when you meet people? And I'm a musician, so I talk about music. Other people would maybe talk about something else. but we started to talk about music. First question is always, what is your favorite band? And when he says back to me, Venom, that was my favorite band. And I'm thinking to myself, how can this be? This guy lives 5 kilometers from me, likes this band that nobody else likes. I'm the only one who likes this band. So we were like, we couldn't believe that. I mean, do you really exist? You know? And he was like, yeah, he had a guitar, he was playing. And we were going on, it's like, yeah, he said, yeah, he knew how to play In Leech with Satan and black metal, Welcome to Hell, some other songs that we also have been rehearsing with my band, with Mannheim. We had a band called Musta. And so I invited him down to the rehearsal place because obviously he already told me that he was playing guitar and he knew these songs. So he came down to rehearsal place, we started to play, and immediately it was like, I already have been played with 4 different guitarists at the time, from I was 12 until when I met him when I was 16. So when he came to the rehearsal place, and when we started to play, it was like, I also write about it in the book, that it was like this, it was a life-defying moment. I knew it immediately that it just cemented the whole thing. I knew before that I wanted to be a musician. I was in a band. We had some concerts and stuff. But when that happened, I was sure.
Yeah, it was that moment where
I was just like, yes.
That's your will. This is what I'm here to do. You know, and nothing's going to stop me.
This is it. Was many things that fell into place. It was like the right members, the right type of music, everything just fell into place.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was right.
Yeah, what I like about the story is it shows you how hard, though, it is, coming up as a musician, too, like having to live in these conditions that are very, very uncomfortable, going on tour, trying to, lug your stuff around, fighting off, Nazi skinheads and whatnot, and, man.
Exactly. Sleeping in parks, sleeping in abandoned buildings.
And when Dad came to you guys, right, from Sweden, when he came up to live with you, just brought like a suitcase, and
not even that. It was just like 2 plastic bags, and what he had in them was not even clothes, and it was like cartoons. Yeah, and he staged clothes, some cartoons, some fake blood. Some fake spider web.
Yeah.
That's what he had. That was.
And he had to kind of he didn't have really a place to go, so
no money, no idea about anything. Only thing he knew that he needed to come to be with us.
So he kind of followed his will too, I guess. He probably felt that connection as well, and it's just like, you know what, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah. Well, that feeling was on the stronger side, like I said, he was convinced,
Exactly.
Otherwise, he was convinced of this.
Yeah.
This was it for him, this band was the right, and it was. It was the right band for him.
It was, because, people are still, banging that music today. And even me, I love listening to the old recordings with Dad, like, Freezing Moon, when he did that one.
Yeah.
You can hear some of that. And it's great, It's great that can be kind of like immortalized like that, you know? Yeah. But he had to sleep around in, like, barns and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right? In the story, you had him. Yeah. And at one point, you had him in this place where he wasn't supposed to be real. You guys weren't really supposed to be real. He came in with a shotgun. Yeah. Man.
That's correct. I knew about this lodge in the forest that had been sitting empty since the 70s.
Yeah.
So, So we arrived there, and all the windows and everything was out. There was nothing, was no electricity, no water. The stove and the fireplace was demolished, so we had to try to put it together. And of course, we're not like professionals, so we just put shit together. So all the smoke was coming out inside and not up the chimney. So, and then Pelle would say that in the night he was laying in we made his bunk bed because there was shit of mice.
Oh,
not just because of that, but like, so he said to me he was laying on top of his bunk watching mice eating on his leather jacket on the floor. And after a couple of months living there, actually Hellhammer lived there in solidarity with him over the summer.
I just kind of lost you. Can you say that again? My internet kind of went out.
Okay. No. What I'm saying,
what happened?
The Hellhammer, from the mice, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was over a summer that he was living there. And there was nothing in the house, so we made his bunk beds, and he told me that he was in his bunk bed when he heard some noise and looked down, and there was mice eating on his leather jacket.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the summer, Hellhammer had moved in solidarity, because this is in the middle of the forest, too. Yeah. So, I mean, so that was nice of Jan to stay there some days, like, not that Pelle, I don't know if he, anyways. So one day, it was a knock on the door. He opens the door, there's a guy with a shotgun standing outside. And he's saying, "What the fuck are you doing in my house?"
Oh, man.
So apparently it was the landowner that came to got some tip from some people hiking in the forest, probably, that someone moved into an old abandoned building on his property.
Yeah.
When he arrived there, he probably thought that, but I think he got scared too. Coming up there, and there is Hellhammer and that Swede, like long-haired leather jackets. Think about that. We're like, whoa, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to abandon that. But after that, we rented an apartment for everybody to live in.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, we rented a house so we can actually rehearse also the house. Mm-hmm. So we had actually everything made. Everything was going good for us. And then it's hard to it's hard to speculate if this and if that. It's hard to say. I mean, that people kill themselves.
Yeah.
You could say that, okay, maybe you sort some of their problems that they were dealing with at that time. But let's say 5 years later, maybe there will be some other problems that they couldn't cope with. Right. And are suicidal,
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to say, like, if he would be living today or not, actually, because the guy was so, I mean, he killed himself over what, really? That okay, there was some stagnation. Mm-hmm. We could have signed a record deal, for example, and start to release albums and start to go on the road. But we wanted to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So with Øystein and the label. Mm-hmm. So that kind of slowed things down a lot.
Yeah.
But if he had been a little bit more patient, we would have gone to the studio. We were going to the studio that summer. We're just a couple of months ahead. We were going to the studio.
That's tough.
So, and this is but at the same time, it's weird. That's why the comparison with Joy Division, everybody knew they had something. And when you're just about to get it out there, you kill yourself. And the reason why I put the comparison, it's not only, there's something I'm thinking. No, I can put you in why I think this. And why I think this is, for example, if you look at Pelle's suicide note, where first he says, excuse all the blood, because he already had made a mess because he cut up his veins and stuff and bled all over the house and stuff. And then he says, "You can take my money," because he'd just been to the social welfare office, got his check.
Yeah.
That he had. That was 2 days before or something. So the money was still in his pocket. He says, "Just you guys take my money. It's in my pocket basically, and I left some lyrics in the bookshelf."
And that was
and here is the songs. Mysterious of Satanas, Life Eternal.
Yeah.
You know, and you know now that was the real stuff. You know.
Oh yeah.
That was his suicide.
Yeah, it was. It was. That's what I got out of it too.
Even the lyrics he wrote was a part of the whole thing. So he wanted us to release this. He didn't want it not to be released, kill himself and fuck it all. He killed himself. He couldn't go on, but he wanted us to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that in the most important letter of his life. His last note there.
Absolutely.
That tells something about his last stuff that he was thinking about. And the last things he was thinking about was his legacy.
So that makes a lot of sense. And it came out really good, with your other singer. It came out really good. I like to listen to that, when I think of that when I'm listening to it, It's like you can't really listen to it without thinking of that whole, and it's like, you think to yourself, okay, this is the song he meant for us to hear.
Yeah.
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 Very awesome song though. I mean, it was a good, those are some of the realest lyrics around, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Very, very strong, powerful stuff. Absolutely.
And you went over, a lot of his life in here that you had, a lot of the experience you had with him, a lot of
I try to, share some of, and also try to explain the guy a little bit,
Yeah.
Try to how I remember the guy, and then since he's a public person now, I felt it was important for me to write this piece about him.
Definitely.
So it's some of the stuff is not so flattering. I'm not painting a picture of a perfect person.
Right.
I put some of his, let's say, less good
traits. You gave
sides.
More complete picture of them. Yeah. We all have our good sides, and we have our kind of
as long as it balances out, so people can deal with you on a normal, basis.
And you kind of did the same thing, I guess, for Euronymous, where since a lot of people, like when I was reading about it, I was kind of like, man, that's what a shitty thing to do. And then it kind of paints your perception of him. But then when I'm reading this book, it's kind of like, well, he also got some good traits too. It kind of evens it out, gives a more complete picture of who he actually was without being judgmental so much,
Yeah.
But
absolutely. It was like he did some bad things, but I mean, he didn't deserve to be killed for it.
Yeah, man. Oh.
So
the whole thing just tragic, It's just really sad, tragic.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I feel for you having to go through that. I'm sorry that you had to go through all that shit, especially.
Yeah, it's it's
pictures,
like with every people you lose or every tragic thing.
Yeah.
That's your things that you have to carry around later.
No, I lost.
Well, I'm a pretty. I don't have any. I'm depressed. I'm a depressed guy, but for different reasons. I'm not this sentimental depressed guy. I'm more like I get weather sick. Like for example, if it rains for weeks ahead, I get like depressed about weather.
Right.
So other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just saying that now because we're in the darkest period of the year here in Norway.
Yeah, the fall
It's
I
been
went through.
raining. It's a record rain. It's never been as wet in month of December ever here in Norway.
Yeah.
So it's very depressing. With first of all, it's only 6 hours daylight.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's raining all the time. And it's around 0 degrees. So it's kind of raining and slushing. We call it slush when it's like in between rain and snow. And it's like wet everywhere. Dark, wet, and cold. So this is why we celebrate this time of year that actually the sun turned around 3 days ago.
Yeah. Yep. And from there on out, then the spring will come, and finally maybe things will brighten up.
Every day from now it's gonna be 9 minutes more. Man, I'm just digging it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be any heat from the sun until April, unfortunately. It's not gonna be able to take off my sweater outside before April. But then again, in Norway we get hot and dry summers and stuff, so that kind of balances it out. So, and the fact that the sun never goes down, basically, it's just light the whole summer night through. Up in the north of Norway, the sun never goes down, but at the same time, it doesn't.
Love that.
But it doesn't come up in the sun in the winter time. It's the same, balances out. So it's fucked up as fuck.
Well,
So, for
back
example,
to what you were saying, like with getting to after all that stuff happened, you managed to get your band back together and keep going.
Yeah.
With Maniac and Blasphemer.
Yeah.
After all those tragedies, and you put out some really, really great albums. I mean, I like how you did that Grand Declaration of War, kind of different thing, but I thought it was great. I loved that album.
Me too.
And then you had Chimera after that.
Yeah.
I saw
those two albums. Fantastic. Productions are great. We got a lot of pepper for that it was the bass drums sounded triggered, like it was this too much click on the bass drums. At the time, that was how Hellhammer played.
I gotta tell you,
how he wanted.
Hellhammer knows how to pound those drums, huh? I mean, he's an amazing drummer.
But for a sound perspective, it was strange, even to me. It was strange that it should be a little bit more bass behind the bass drums, not the click took away some of the foundation, let's say, of the sound that disappeared. It was a great album. It was a great sound as it is.
Are you talking about Declaration of War or Chimera?
Seasons of Mist have been re-released, remastered.
Yeah.
Because this drums sound. So it came out last year.
Yeah, I remember. And we're talking about Grand Declaration of War, right?
Yeah. So they did the album, also remastered it. But unfortunately, and this is really fucking strange and fucked up. On the original, you have like 3-4 guitars there, and you have 2 vocals there on top of each other and stuff. And then when they remixed it, they just took away some instruments that was there in the beginning. Also took away from the mix, took out stuff from the mix instead of putting in stuff to the mix.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, wow, this is so I like the fact that the bass drums gave a better, when there were more bass in it and cut down on the click, that it gave a different sound picture.
Mm-hmm.
But they took away some of the essential stuff, some guitar riffs here and there, and then I was like, unfortunately, for me, let me put it in another way. I was very surprised to see that they altered some of the songs a lot too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I knew that Rune and also Blasphemer was invited into the studios and stuff when they did the remake. What they did there and what they were talking about, I don't know. He was out of the band for 10 years before that, so I thought it was strange for Season of Mist to start to release new remixes of albums with members who were not part of the band for the last 10 years, especially since Season of Mist already had the Historic Warfare album just coming out and stuff.
Right.
So I was like, but this is the business side of it, the record industry. It's not always we, the band, are 100% in on everything that the record industry does. And this is important for me to tell the fans that most of these records that come out, which is like remixes or some leftover material from recordings and stuff, this is 99% the record company want to give this out, and the bands themselves don't, because this is leftovers. And why are they leftovers? Because they were deemed not good enough, or deemed not finished, or deemed in some way not presentable.
Right.
We were not happy with it. That's why it wasn't released. So when this shit comes out, because the record company, they have the tape, they have these songs, they have this, so they decided on their own behalf to re-release this shit, and so I have mixed feelings with some of the stuff. For example, there was a box set with Peaceville. They offered to re-release 4 bootlegs. So to make it official. And I told Peaceville, like, there's a reason why this is bootlegs, because we would never approve this shit. When I'm saying shit, I mean like it's bad sound recorded. It's just taped by a tape recorded, from the 80s, like this. It's not professional at all. We can't really stand behind it.
I see.
So, but they managed to persuade some other person in the band and send off money in an advance to this other person in the band. Because when I said no, they said, "Oh, we already sent advance." And then I was thinking to myself, "Fuck it, okay, whatever."
Wow.
I mean,
I didn't know about all that, but that's
Yeah, but the good thing is Peaceville also re-released the Life in Leipzig and wanted me to do some pre-words. And my take on the Live in Leipzig is also the same thing. That was supposed to be released in 1,000 copies in Memory for Dead on vinyl. Was not supposed to be re-released on CD or anything. So when the Italian company that had that release started to release it, I caught up with them, and they, then gave us some money afterwards. Like it was just a bootleg, and I threatened to kill him basically. Then he came up with some money, and then when he sold the rights to Peaceville, which he didn't have actually legal right to do. So when Peaceville says to me, "We are re-releasing this album," like, fuck.
Yeah.
what the fuck? And wanted me to write on it. So the stuff I write inside is like, yes, this is a bootleg. It's a piss poor sound, and it should never been released back. Master tapes should be given back to the band.
Yeah.
And they printed it on the fucking release. So it's like,
saying totally. That's
a fuck.
It's like kind of like stabbing you in the back, I guess. You know what I mean?
And just leave it.
Thanks for putting on great music. I'm just gonna stab you in the back here and put out all this stuff.
And then just leave the knife. And just leave the knife there.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad. You know, these people. We need the record industry. You know, and so I'm saying, like, not always the artists are 100% agree with their management or their record companies. It goes way back to Beatles had to sue their management. Stones had to do the same.
Oh yeah.
Even guys like George Michael and that had big problems. Prince had to change his name.
Yeah.
You know, it goes on and on and on and on. Yeah. Everybody been screwed by the record industry.
Yeah.
And Mayhem is no exception. You know?
Right.
But like you said, you picked on something which is my character. When stuff, especially when the industry goes against you, then that sparks something in me.
Right.
To saying like, okay. This is a challenge now. You challenge me. I am the artist. I know my shit. I'm gonna take you down.
Right.
But on like a professional way, you know, like I will outlive you guys, and then I will laugh about it. Like, you know, like when you come up and say, oh, you know, like you used to be working in the record label and stuff.
Kind of like the quote that
I would say, yeah, right. And
quote that I included.
Now you're working in your father's factory, and I'm still, you know, in the green, you know.
Yeah, and it's like you said in the book, you try to knock us down, and we'll get up.
You have to use that as fuel. It's rocket fuel, you know.
Yeah.
If people, especially when you know you're right.
Yeah.
This is the most beautiful thing. You know you're right. And they write it in the papers that you're not. And then you think to yourself, okay, they even write it in the papers, you know, like now we really have something to prove, you know. So, but I think, isn't this very common? Like in all kinds of perspectives of life, you meet the wall, it's hard to climb it. You know, and a lot of people would say it's impossible, you know, but you believe it, and then you make it.
When you're doing big things and great things and stuff like this band, it's like you have obstacles in your way, you know? It's like part of the journey. It's like you're going to have some adverse conditions. Obviously, you talked about that in your book where you had to live in all the, you know, going the early touring, you just like really had to hunker down and like just deal with, you know, having almost nothing, and now you're dealing with different challenges, like people that want to take music that you don't want out and put it out in all of these kinds of wars. So it's like you're on a new level, you got new obstacles, you know.
Yeah.
You got over some major obstacles, you're losing 2 people, you know, and then getting all that shitty press where people kind of crucify you, you know, and they don't really know the story. You told the story in this. It's like, and all that bad stuff that happened that you know, people have kind of pinned on you was stuff that this guy who came in who wasn't even really part of the band at all. It was just like this last minute thing where this guy comes in. And then he goes and burns some churches down and kills your guitarist. And then you had to, like, you know, after Euronymous' funeral, you're like, all right, time to put the band back together. And you got Blasphemer, you know, you and Hellhammer, Blasphemer and Maniac, who was part of the band earlier. I like Maniac, his work and everything. I know you guys kind of, you know, as far as his work is concerned, I love that album, Chimera. That right now, It's probably like one of my favorites. I love that song, My Death. I love that song.
That's a good one.
I love Dark Night of the Soul, and
that's my favorite song on that album.
The title track, Chimera, was really nice.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites right now, but it's not to say, because I'm kind of just going through the different albums. I like a lot of the material on Esoteric Warfare as well, like a lot of the lyric content. And I'm kind of going through each one. The new one you got, Bad Blood. Mm-hmm. You wrote some of the lyrics, and I remember Dead. Remember you were telling the story how Dead was kind of talking about your lyrics and telling you that what he appreciated them, he liked them, something like that. He gave you some advice on lyrics.
Yeah, he wanted me to do backing vocals.
Yeah, that was nice to read.
He liked those old songs, Death Curse and Carnage, and so he thought that was great lyrics. Coming from him, who wrote such great lyrics, of course, I felt like that was the first time anybody had said anything good about my lyrics. Actually, I don't think. When I think about it.
And he was a good lyricist, so when he's saying
he was one of the best.
Yeah, he was.
When you look at what he like those lyrics he wrote, that stands time and space.
He was like living that. That was his head, and he was kind of like living in that world. And the lyrics just poured out.
Yeah. That came from this dark subconscious that he had. So
he would have liked a lot of stuff that I'm into, like scorpions and poisonous plants, like belladonna, right? Belladonna with those big black berries and stuff. He probably would have liked.
Oh yeah, he would dig poisonous plants and stuff. That would be up his alley. That's for sure. But he was big on books. And, so he wrote me a list. Let's see if I have it here.
I remember you showed on that NRK program. You showed some stuff that he had carved or written into the barn in the back of your house.
Yeah.
Right.
That's correct.
That's always nice to have. So you still have some of his like handwriting and all that.
Yeah. I have some. That's what I'm looking for now. Is this letter,
He left you a list of books.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one you saw. Okay, I'm looking for that now, but I think actually I'm making a box. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. So. I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah.
So this is name of books that he was looking for. So he's written down the title, the name, the year of the book. It's all about the like this is rare books, and he writes stuff like, for example, he comments.
Right.
Like for example, he's looking for. Okay, here it starts. Some book titles, some from different the books I searched for. So Paradise Lost, The Pedigree of the Devil, come from London, 1883. Vitae Sophisticarum, The Darker Superstitions of Scotland, Codex of something, Artibus Magistics, 1482. Some other book, De Lamis, came out in 1489. So sometimes he has the writer and the year of the book, sometimes only the year, sometimes only the writer, sometimes nothing. So
that's really
it just goes on. Now this is the next page. As you can see, it's 2 pages. It's like he lists here just from his brain
Uh-huh.
I would say about 50 books here.
I love books too. I don't know if you see, like I said, I usually have books all across the shelf here, but there's like 3 whole things of books and binders and all that. Yeah. I'm kind of like that. Exactly like that. I love books. So yeah, when I read about him, I kind of see like elements of myself, and I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah. That is cool.
He was a genuine person, That's one thing definitely can kind of pull out that he was this, he lived with his heart. He wasn't fake or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
When he put the makeup on, it was because it was like he didn't do it to look like Kiss and whoever else he wanted. He felt more aligned with death energy when he did that,
Yeah.
He felt tuned into that dark place that he felt he was in.
Yeah. So he is the guy who came up with what they now call corpse paint.
Corpse paint, right.
Corpse paint. That's his that was the word he used for it. So I guess he came up with a name for it too. Because before that, it was, you had Alice Cooper, then you had Kiss.
Yeah, King Diamond.
King Diamond, yes. And then you had Celtic Frost.
Yeah.
But Celtic Frost just had a little bit black around the eyes. Wasn't that extreme?
But Dead had that unique one that he did.
Yeah, and then Pelle had this idea about making himself look like a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
That had nothing. Nobody had came up with that before.
Right. And, he had been doing
that was the makeup. That's what they call it, corpse paint, because he was like trying to look like a corpse.
And he would bury his clothes.
Yeah, he would bury his clothes, correct. And he had, for example, found some roadkill, like there was some dead birds.
Yeah.
Alongside the road that he picked up and had, in this picnic bag under his bed.
He would have liked my interest in belladonna. They say that plant is like a gateway to the land of the dead. I did all these like articles about it, but it's very interesting. He would have been into that. Definitely.
Yeah. I think he would rather have taken that than shooting his brains out. I think his corpse would look much better too.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. It's too bad. Too bad they didn't.
You talk about having to go in there afterwards. I was kind of like, man, I felt for you. That's some shit right there,
Yeah.
But you got through it, and we remember him now. We're remembering all the good traits he had and the ways he came in like a shooting star, like a big meteor, and just made his mark.
But like in the aftermath, sometimes you have to experience something really bad to do something really good.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know about bad if you don't know about it. So you can't really, let's say, nothing bad has ever happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have nothing to compare. So you don't really know when something bad is happening to you because you never could compare it. So it's very radical, but I think the more shit that happens to you, crazy shit, and if you are able to channelize that into something positive, or at least don't go mentally mad yourself,
right?
Be able to use it in your advantage. Like when people write shit about me, for example, I always use that to my advantage. I'm thinking these people are idiots, I'll show them, and stuff like that, So you always have to think. And so it's there is something good always coming out from the very bad also, if you don't lose it on the way.
That's something that I talk about a lot. You know, adversity, as much as it sucks, shapes you if you work, you know, to build yourself rather than letting things destroy you. I know, like in my past, I often let things destroy me. But now, after I kind of just went through all that shit, had to go to jail for a while and stuff, you know, straighten out. Now it's like when bad things happen, it's like, all right, how do I shape this into something so I can be on top and not on the bottom,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. But I don't think that, I mean, you know where, I know where you're coming from, you know where I'm coming from, but I don't know, is this common? Do you think, majority of people use their problems, can use that? I don't think so, really. You have to be,
No, it's
you have to
uncommon.
be fucking strong and tough, as an individual, and
It's work.
because most people, the more shit that happens to them, the lower they come down into the shit itself.
Especially today, it's like, you know, people are lost. They don't really know, you know, what to do.
Yeah,
Exactly. And you see it more and more. People just kind of just going down that slope.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
few people, few and far between, you know, that are kind of like warriors, I guess you could say, with all the shit they have to go through, like, you know, like yourself having to go through all this and
yeah,
coming out on top. That's really, you know, it's a challenging thing.
yeah.
But you know, you do it,
You
and
make or break, you know.
it's like
That's
it's easier to kind of go down that slump, you know, in the short term. It's like easier not to like work hard for it, but when you
yeah,
work hard for it and you keep going, it's like,
yeah,
oh man, it pays off in the end, you know.
yeah. Big time, big time.
So
Yeah. But it's
you're
I can see it's easy for people to give up, you know, on the way and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not the best shrink, but I think actually this book,
yeah,
some of the feedback I have, same as you, that says that it helped them in some way with in their own situation.
yeah,
Just because they see that other people are experiencing the same thing and even maybe even worse and come out on top, and this is the way I did it, and maybe
yeah.
that can inspire people, or it has inspired people just to look at their own life and thinking, okay, I have potential, you know, it's not, you know, the end of the world, or, you know, like this, if these guys can pull it through, I can pull it through.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know. And another thing that people said to me that was not intentional at all, they said there is no self-indulgence in this book. I am not talking myself up.
Yeah.
I'm even more talking myself down.
Right.
I'm not
I
talking about
remember
all
talking
my
about this.
victories in life. I focus in on my mistakes. So this book
Yeah.
is actually something I cleaned myself and got out of my mistakes and talked about it, discussed it with my ghostwriter in a way. But
So it's kind of like
that
therapy
became,
for
you
you,
know,
right? It's kind of like therapy for you in a way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is why this is the autobiography, and
Mm-hmm.
most biographies are bragging about themselves because they achieved something, and it's
Ego.
so good, it's so big and good that they have to release a book about it.
Yeah,
That's
the
it.
ego.
And
They
then,
free their
yeah,
ego and
of course,
yeah.
but there's a lot of people who buy into their ego and buy their book. You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, The Art of the Deal. You know, it's a lot of people who bought that book too. You know what I mean? So, but so
No, I noticed you know, you're telling all your mistakes and everything, you know, like
yeah,
having that
yeah,
car
exactly.
accident when you know.
But this is not even intentional. This is the
Right.
way it came out when I was gonna write the book. This is how it came out. You know, I
Yeah.
selected the stories. I choose what to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read back, it's like going through all my mistakes, basically.
Yeah, it was like I'm reading the book and I'm like, it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but just like seeing through your eyes, but not like you said, not like beefing yourself up, to feed your own ego. So just telling the story, how it happened.
Yeah.
All the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Had to be, but you know what? Had to be very important. Had to be very true and correct.
Mm-hmm.
Had to not leave major things out just because it made me look a little bit bad.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take that in, and my ghostwriter also said, "Well, you know why you're leaving out that part of the story." And like, okay, fuck it.
But as a reader, though, I know you kind of like, there's things you don't want in there, but as a reader, when I'm reading it, even read it, it's like when I'm reading stuff like that, probably the stuff that you didn't want, in there, it's like, okay, this is a genuine person who goes through shit just like I do,
Yeah.
So it's not like being judgmental on you, where it's like, oh, what's wrong with this guy? It's kind of like, wow, I do stuff like that too.
No, it balances out. It balances out pretty good with that. But like I said, it was not intentional. So it was like, and when I got these critics, like, oh wow, this is the first biography I've ever written who is, not bragging or up talking in any way at all. And then it hit me, thinking, fuck, yeah. They're right. I forgot about that. Maybe I should brag more about myself in the next book.
And for people that have that image of Mayhem being these horrible people, or something, that don't have really any of the story, but they heard a few things here and there, and they think, that you're, responsible for all the stuff that happened that you weren't even a part of. But then you read a book like this, it's like, hey, these are human beings, and it was like you talked about the daily life types of things, where it wasn't just like this glamour and rock either. It was just like all this, everyday things, everything from, Euronymous drinking Coca-Cola all the time and then sleeping at that guy's doorstep and feeling bad for him. And you talked about napalm death walking out on you because you ordered some meat, right?
Yeah, I ordered spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
And then they left. They left the restaurant.
Wow. They didn't have Barney at that time, right? It was
Lee Dorian.
Yeah,
that was the guy from Cathedral today.
Yeah. So it was
Lee Dorian. Mick Harris.
That's what makes the book great, is that you tell all these little things, and it's like, that's what makes it more genuine. That's what makes it so. It's it's this is the story, how it happened, and you get, these are real people. But for those people that think all these bad things, you read this stuff and it's like, hey, these aren't bad people. These are people that have problems like everybody else, but they put it into an outlet, and now, you're making albums. When I watch that NRK program, it's like, oh, here's Necrobutcher having coffee with this guy, and then he goes to pick up his son at, school, and it's like, hey, he's not a bad guy, What's wrong with him? He's not bad.
Actually, you know what? With the NRK thing, it's always like a big deal for people to be on NRK, and, they tell the families, oh, at 9 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to be on TV, so be sure that you watch, because this is how it works, how it is. And for me, I've been on TV for many years, and, it's not, I'm over the super enthusiastic be on TV thing. So when they call me now to participate in different programs, like the one you said, talking about there, I told them, okay, if you want me to participate, I'm gonna shine my grandson and my daughter on TV. I want to show you how sporty I am while bicycling around my house. And the importance of coffee.
Yeah, coffee. I was just having a cup right here.
Yeah. So they said, okay, no problem. We'll fix that.
Right.
So that's why, I like to, when I'm on TV, it's, I don't have to, but that this is what I've told the NRK, that it's more fun for my daughter and my grandson to be on TV than me. I am on TV all the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more like, I do it for them, because I know, like, that's what I'm a rock and roll guy, I'm in the industry, so that if you have some perks, you bring in, like,
of course, help your family.
So that's why I put Jørn Jr. and Sabine, my daughter, on TV sometimes, because they like it, because they're just normal people, so they're not on TV all the time.
And then they can tell all their friends at school,
classmates and stuff, they love it. It's like, oh, your granddad is on TV. But guess what? The grandson is also on TV, So, that's why that's there. But at the same time, that's how they want to portray me. And that's okay, They know about the anti.
When people actually go and look, when people go and actually look at you and everything, it's like, wow, it makes you much more sympathetic to you, being like, wow, they really, they really talk shit. And then you see this guy, he's a genuine dude, And so it's like, it works against them, It works against them.
Absolutely. Well, this is part of the thing. Also, we needed to go on TV, and because at some point the people thought we were completely insane, and then we couldn't get any jobs.
Yeah.
We couldn't get any record deals. We couldn't, So at some point, when the TV people call me and say, "Hey, we want to make a little story about your band there," and I'm thinking, okay, it's about time to show people that we are more normal than the media had said, and then because we needed to get started to play festivals, because we were actually denied to play. Because of the rumors, that we were crazy and stuff. So this is where I started to go on TV and just let them into the whole thing, let them in my house, let them, I pick up my daughter at school and all that stuff, just give them exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And then that worked fantastic for the band. They cleaned up everything. Everybody now start to say, okay, instead of judging us, then they start to say like yourself, shit, bad stuff happened to these guys. So instead of bringing them more down, maybe we should support them.
Absolutely.
So we kind of turn it around, and in a way, so we got more public support in the way, and we needed that. Stupid enough, but we needed that to be able to do our job. Basically.
Yeah. And
that also opened up for all the other bands who were in the same situation, but unfortunately wasn't able to have TV programs made about you. But actually then it opened up here, and then now I see all these people like Gylve, Fenris from Dark Throne. I see all these other people from Enslaved, from Satyricon, and they're on TV all the time now. On game shows, they use them for everything. Even children TV. It's like the whole range of everything. Like I'm in the literal world now. Like I'm a published author, just in a different level altogether. And I enjoy it. I'm the same fucking guy I always been, but now there were some new places, let's say, I hadn't been.
When you were going through shit like back then, right? It's like, even when all that stuff happened, it was like you were home trying to work and you had a pregnant girlfriend and stuff. So it was like you weren't even being crazy. It was like this other guy who comes in. Remember you were saying he was wearing all these like chains or whatever? You had only met him like once or something, and you hear these chains clanking. You're like, "What is that?" And then all of a sudden, this guy comes in looking like,
he had this Viking armor, homemade.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like he comes in and just, and then he goes away. It was like you had nothing to do with that, you know. And it was like your band's name had to take the heat, unfortunately. And then you got over that stuff, all that horrible shit, and then it's like, all right, we're back on track. Get the Blasphemer, Maniac, and then you going, you know, and then now you got your second book where you can tell all of those obstacles that happened from 95 to was it
2005?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm interested to hear about all that stuff. You know, that's this book was amazing. I loved it. I gave it an excellent review on my site, and I thought it was important to kind of talk about, you know, how the drive that you had. That look, these aren't bad people. These are people that were dedicated. Some bad shit happened. You know, you overcame, you kept going, and I talked about, hey, this band helps me when I do my work. So it's like, you know, I call my site the Garden of Great Work, and the great work being an alchemical reference, you know, to the great work, and just doing what you do best. You know, that's the great work. You know, how you contribute to this life. Like for you, the great work is the band. You know, and so it's like I say, when I'm doing what I do, I listen to stuff like Mayhem. So it's like it's nice. And so I gave it a good review. I cannot wait till your next book comes out. And
I learned, you know, in the process, of course, this is my first book, so I learned a lot on writing this book. So now it's easier to go into the second book, and the flow of the book. I understand much more of this type of things, you know, like it's like a concert. We like it to have a beginning that people sucked into it, and then, you know, really fascinated and focused, and then take him with a roller coaster of feelings. Like when you go through it, you'll be sad, you'll be happy, you'll be angry. You know, I will take you through the whole and push all the buttons and I can to make you uncomfortable or happy on the way. You know.
That's exactly what I said too. I said it's got, you know, all the antics, the laughter, and then it's got all the tragedy and sadness and everything in between. The good,
it wasn't that intentional in the first place. That was just the way it came out. But now I know. Like, I was touched even reading back my own book in certain places where I'm thinking, wow, this is fucking moving shit.
Yeah, it is.
Know, like, really, some places I got, you know, like, hit it really on the nail there. And so this is what I'm saying, like, when now I understand and, you know, like, what is powerful, and I'm going to use that more for the next one. And that's just about how you write things. It's just about, you know, like, so I cracked some new codes. I mean, I think if you're a writer, an author, I don't know, especially if you're self-taught, I don't know how many books you're going to be doing before you think, this is the optimal, you know. Certainly not the first one, because you make mistakes, you know.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to the next book myself, you know, like I'm almost like my own biggest fan. I'm thinking how great it's going to be, you know, because there's uncertainties. I know it's going to be great, but just in which way and which stories is really going to hit, you know, like touch people. And, you know, sometimes the story that you just plump out and you don't really think that much of it, and then suddenly people really pick up on it. There's just some small underline, especially underline, like under meanings. Like you say something, but it's clearly you mean something else.
Yeah.
For example, and, you know, So but I'm not that interested in making books. So I'm gonna stick to writing my own biography.
Mm-hmm.
And do what I do best, make music
Right.
instead. But I mean, I'm privileged enough to make these books, and I'm gonna make sure that we go through the biggest and the best people to make the best possible product. And by doing that, of course, I don't make any money, but that's secondary.
Yeah, it is, right? It's like it's the main purpose is that
documentary.
Depth, yes, that depth, that journey, that the work.
Yeah.
The work you
I
did
just
and all
document everything for myself, and like on 10 years from now, I might have forgotten some of the, you forget stuff every year. Some of the memories go away, So it was about time when I sat down like 7 years ago to write this book, that it was on the nick of time, because like what does people remember from almost 40 years ago? It's hard to remember details.
Yeah, I know. And plus, you're partying all the time and
young, again.
Hard to remember stuff, definitely. There's times I remember things, because I partied hard, and it's like every now and then I'm like, oh yeah, that happened, and then it's like I totally forgot about that, and it's all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I guess.
Yeah. I haven't read the book, but I saw the movie.
Yeah. Crazy. I know what it's like to kind of, you're like, that part when he wakes up and he's like, there's a whole 3-inch or like a foot of water in the whole hotel, and he wakes up, what the fuck happened? And he goes and there's like some big mask in the toilet, and he's just like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah. But that's when you take too much acid and and then wake up from it.
Oh, and he had a lizard tail on his back, right?
Just
he had a lizard tail tied to him. Wow. Yeah.
I thought that Johnny did a good job there. I seen some interviews and stuff with Hunter B. Thomas, and I must say that he gimmicked him pretty well. Same fucking stupid hats and the cigarette filters and the way, I think he did a good job there.
He did. I definitely. He was. It almost I almost want to say more Hunter Thompson than Hunter Thompson was.
Yeah, of course he overplayed him. He overplayed, but that that was the how that film. I think it worked out better if you portrayed him like that. Like put him in.
Oh, and I almost forgot the whole Lords of Chaos thing. I didn't even bring that up, but I didn't even watch that, and I don't think I'm going to be honest with you. I saw some of the clips, and it just did not seem like it would have been you guys. I don't know.
No, because it's a Hollywood production.
Yeah, it's like I see the Macaulay Culkin's brother, and all I can think of is Home Alone.
Yeah, but first I was not too eager on, and I thought it was strange that somebody was gonna make a movie about me and not even calling me first. I'm still alive, So I thought that was strange, I didn't. But then afterwards, I understand where they were coming from. They were just gonna make a movie. Okay, some of us were still alive, but there's stories everywhere. So somebody picked up our story, and that was not strange at all, because it's like a heavy story, and they made a movie out of it, and I got into the process in the middle of it, and Åkerlund, the director, we had some meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and so my fear was that it was some kind of Hollywood person that didn't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah.
That, you know, but this time it turns out that this guy is the old drummer of Bathory, one of my favorite bands, also.
Oh yeah.
And so, and he had grown. He was in Sweden when all this shit happened, and so he was fascinated about it. So he knew, like, from a nerdy perspective, knew everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And he wanted to make it as close as possible.
Yeah.
So when I sent him my book, he was actually one of the first persons that got the book. I told the publisher immediately, like, as soon as that shit the book comes out of the press, send it to Åkerlund immediately. Because at least then he had the story, you know, and it's up to him what to use. And I was hoping that maybe he could take out some of the, if there was some, like, maybe if they portrayed us as crooks in, you know, like, maybe we could get some kind of more balanced. And what I saw immediately when the movie came out, that they have actually replicated all the clothes we had.
They did very well with that aspect. Yeah. They did good with that aspect.
And they didn't have to do that, because most of the people go to the movies.
Yeah.
They don't know. They didn't know about that, you know. So there was just, they made so much effort into small details that I knew that was nerdy stuff. That was only for me and you and some other people to see. You know, all the other people out there in the movie world, they wouldn't have a clue. So why? So I actually got a little bit of respect for them, that they actually used that kind of time and energy and money into replicating some of the rooms, some of the houses, some of the rehearsal places, all our clothes, even the posters on the walls were the same.
Yeah, so that's an admirable thing they did.
I mean, they didn't have to do any of those things.
Yeah.
So just for that, I give them credit for that, and so because of that, I really did go into some of the details, and that the director was actually there, and of course this is a Hollywood production, so it had to be some kind of a dramatization. And they had to, I mean, the whole thing has to be in a movie for 1.5 hours. They put in a girl in there for the big drama thing, which was not there. You know, they added some elements, you know, like, so to make it into more like a movie, you know.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of fuss about it before it came out. All these major papers and called me all the time. I said to them, I don't want to give any interviews before you have seen the movie. Don't come to me with these questions about something you don't really know anything about. See the movie first, then come back to me. And guess what? When the movie came out, nobody gave a fuck. Nobody called back.
I remember you saying in an interview that Rolling Stone approached you for an interview, and you said, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
I like that.
The first interview I did.
Right before you said that, I was thinking the same thing. Fuck you, and you said that. Fuck you.
Yeah, because, you know, I woke up in the morning. U.S. time is not the same as here, you know that.
Yeah.
So I think they even called me from West Coast, you know, which is 9 hours.
Yeah.
Difference. So I just had this. First, I didn't. Yeah, hello. This is Rolling Stone magazine, you know, like, and I'm like, what? Just this movie you're making about your band, you know, like, do you have anything to say? I'm like, what? Tell them to go fuck themselves. You know, of course. I mean, that's the only and the right thing to say, you know.
And I guess it's like, I guess that's the point. It's like when I saw the actors in that movie on the clips that I've seen, I was like, they just didn't capture that aggression.
No.
You know what I mean? That drive that you guys have, that they couldn't replicate that. I mean, they did great with the you know, the whole outfits and everything, but they just didn't have that aggressive, vicious nature that metalheads have, you know?
You're very right. None of the characters were portraying us good at all, and because they were too different,
kind of girl. I don't know.
Different backgrounds, that they didn't have any hardships in their lives. You know,
yeah, they weren't the cutout metalhead, just angry.
Well, I mean, let's say if you had put in some other actors, like for example that guy who killed himself, the Batman guy, Russell Crowe. No, what the fuck was his name? The Dark.
What was he in? Oh, the guy
the
from
last movie
Joker?
he made. He was the Joker. Yeah. What was his
Joker
name?
Yeah, his name was oh shit, I forget, man.
River Phoenix.
Huh? Yes.
River Phoenix?
No. That's the guy who died way back from a drug overdose. It was
Yeah. But this is also drug overdose.
I know what you're talking about. He was taking all that Ambien and stuff, right? And he died after playing the Joker.
Yeah.
I forget his name too. It's killing me.
But
yeah, you could get
sure
that aggression.
Hey, aren't you sure that wasn't Phoenix's little brother?
Was it?
I think so.
I know River Phoenix died in like 95 or something.
He had 3 brothers.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. No, also they were 3 brothers.
Here, I can look it up right now.
Yeah, do that.
What his name was? Was it the Dark Knight? The Joker, right?
Yeah.
It is blah blah blah. Come on. Heath Ledger.
Keith Ledger, for fuck's sake. So, if you had put Keith Ledger and River Phoenix in the main roles here of Euronymous and Count Grishnak and stuff, you know, you would have a different movie.
Yeah,
people who really were living in their own misery, they could have played this. I mean, also like people like John Belushi, you know, he could be Battalion, for example.
He didn't nail it with the characters.
I would do the casting,
they were too wimpy. They were too wimpy.
Yeah,
that's the way I felt about it. I was like, man, that's not them.
No, absolutely. And the way they were saying, how they were talking.
Yeah.
And all the people that know me or knew the guys, that was the first thing they said. We would never have said those things that they were saying.
Right.
Absolutely not. It was just so far out.
The spirit wasn't there, you know? That metalhead spirit was not there.
They just didn't capture that. No.
There could have been actors that were I mean, there are probably tons of metalhead actors out there. You know, with that drive, that aggressive, animalistic side. You know what I mean? But these guys just did not make the cut. You know?
No, they unfortunately not.
Although I can say the Metallica video wasn't too bad. You know what I mean? I guess.
Yeah. No.
That must have been kind of strange for you because you used to love Metallica back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, wow, they're making a video over you guys. Wow. You know?
Yeah, that was good.
So you came far.
But I don't know which copy you have there, but Lars Ulrich has pre-words in my book.
Who does?
Lars Ulrich. On the back of it. On the back side.
Lars Ulrich. Yeah. Mayhem's story is a definitive black metal saga. It has a darkness which lies beyond most of our daily comprehensions and a continuing influence and legacy that sees not only the genre, but also the fans continue to be both fascinated and influenced by these true pioneers. Man, that's an accomplishment, you know, because Metallica.
I like it.
I mean, back in the 80s. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like the pioneers.
And I think that actually Lars asked to write that. I think.
Really?
As I understood, yeah. I
Wow.
think I don't know how they knew that guy, but I mean, Thurston Moore and Eva Prince, the partner of the book company, they know everybody. It's like ridiculous. They put me in touch with the Beastie Boys guys, and
you like the Beastie Boys, right?
I love Beastie Boys. It's one of my main bands. I mean, when I heard that in 1987, somebody played that No Sleep to Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's with Kerry King on it.
And then, Kerry King played the solo there. So that dragged me in. And of course, I mean, one of the producers, I don't like producers, but this one I like, Rick Rubin. So he put a lot of these bands that I like together, like Slayer, Beastie Boys, Yeah. So, So,
he's done done a lot of work in metal, that guy.
Yeah, so that dragged me into it, and so, of course, because of Slayer, and then I got aware of them, got the License to Feel album, liked them. Then when they put out the Paul's Boutique and stuff, I love rhythm sections. I mean, who fucking doesn't love a good rhythm section?
Oh, yeah.
It's like percussions, it's great bass, it's good drums, it's like, and all their albums is just jam sessions. It's just jamming. And then they put some raps on it. Even they have 2 albums which is completely without vocals, instrumental.
Yeah, I remember I had
it's one called The Mix Up.
I had the one with Sabotage on it, where he's on the cover.
Check Your Head?
Yeah.
Check Your Head?
Yeah, something like that, I think. And it was a lot of jam stuff in there. Yeah, Beastie Boys are great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's amazing. You have Lars Ulrich saying that, that's cool. That tells you right there. It's like, man, I made it.
Yeah, but Lars Ulrich is, the guy. Sometimes people compare me with him. And the comparison is like, we kind of look the same, we are the same height, we are from Scandinavia, we have a huge temperament, and we are what they call
my friend.
hotheads, as they call it, and we don't like to see anything which is, if we see anything which we don't like, we tell it immediately, and we can't hold back, and there's always somebody, let's say in a band, who reacts more to obstacles or to try to fix things. Yeah. And me and Lars is the same. And mainly to fix things is to raise your voice and scream out some shit, And other people would say that, okay, this guy is mad, crazy, but we are actually just trying to protect ourselves and protecting and doing, and sometimes you have to raise your voice to be heard.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were in the middle of that, when from physical sales until all the music was on Napster and stuff, he went out and said what all the musicians wanted to say, but nobody would be that asshole, But Lars didn't give a fuck. He went out and did it anyway, and made a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
And so we kind of similar in some ways. And it was one time, I'll tell you a good story. I came to Mexico City.
Yeah.
And these people working in the airport there, they're more interested in getting autographs than doing correct checking in baggage and stuff, because they're stupid, or they're just working there to meet famous people or something.
Yeah.
So we are on the way there. We're standing in the queue, and there's a lot of stress. We don't have proper paperwork. We don't have work visas. We never do to Mexico. There's some market thing. They know that we are fucking with them when we get into the border there, but they always have to let us in, and we're just lying. No, we're not gonna play any concerts. We are, but so it's every time the same. So it's irritating me a little bit. So I'm there. They put a bunch of people in wheelchairs to work in the airport, simply because they want, like every country has some programs to put handicapped people into work. And in the airport, it's no stairs, everything. You can actually work with from a wheelchair. So very surprising to see a lot of people in wheelchairs at the main, the biggest airport in Mexico City. Anyway, so this guy is pulling on my jacket because he's sitting in a wheelchair. And I'm looking down at him, and he's like having a paper. It's like bringing up a paper and so, hey, autograph. Because he thinks I am Lars Ulrich.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So he thinks I'm Lars Ulrich, and I get more pissed off because he starts to say, Lars, please, Lars. And then I understand, like, fuck, the guy thinks I'm Lars Ulrich.
Do you sign it?
Yeah, so I sign, fuck you. Yeah, and I give it back to him, and the guys start to scream, to the other officers around, fuck you, Rod, fuck you, so all the people just start to storm around me and was really gonna get me. And the guy with the biggest hat screamed out like, where is your instrument? Because obviously I didn't have visa, so if I had an instrument with me, I would be fucked. But I did bring an instrument with me because of this thing. I was gonna buy a bass guitar in Mexico City, take it on a tour, and then sell it. Yeah, because I knew it. So I was just saved by the bell there. I was standing there, these guys in the wheelchairs pulling my jacket, and all hell breaks loose. And then in the end, I'm like, I don't have a instrument, and he's like, you're lying to my face. Like, I'm not. And then he's like, okay, get the fuck out of here. And that meant like, go out to the exit, So I've been taken for him one time too.
I never made.
He's very misunderstood. I think that he's one of the most misunderstood people. Yeah. He is a hot head and stuff, but he's a good guy.
Actually. I used to have the Metallica year and a half in the life of Metallica VHS videos where kind of show them on the road and stuff. We used to think Lars was hilarious when we watched that movie. Yeah. Actually, me and my friends, the one who died recently, in the last year, we used to take acid and watch that.
Okay.
I don't know.
That sounds interesting.
No, I don't think we did it like saying, oh, let's take this and then watch it. But it was like one time we took it and all this stuff happened. And then we're like, hey, let's watch this Metallica video. Okay. Yeah. And we were laughing. Yeah. Everything Lars was saying was just hilarious to us. We were like falling on the ground laughing, But, he seems like a decent guy. He's a good guy. He's funny, Does anybody ever think he's you?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like in that airport.
No, but I'm saying
they asked me for their autograph.
No, but I'm saying Lars, does anybody go up to Lars and say, "Hey, you're the guy from Mayhem"?
I hope so. That would be killer, But I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so because the guy, no. And then to add to it, there was a Metallica show the day after in Mexico City. Yeah. So there was. Like we come in there, we are all dressed like metalheads. We have our whole crew with us, shitloads of instruments. Mm-hmm. Of course, they thought we were Metallica.
Yeah.
Because these people really don't know. They just work in the fucking airport. So it's bizarre. Yeah.
Hopefully.
There's one thing. Actually, you know what? I need to go to the store.
Okay. Yeah, we can wind this down, no problem.
We can have another session if you like, also.
Yeah, definitely, and especially, I don't know when your next book is coming out, but definitely, You could come on here anytime. I love talking to you. It's a great time. I was a little nervous when I was reading this book because it's like in the beginning he's like, yeah, all these people, he says fuck you to the interviewers all the time. I'm like, it'll piss them off.
Well, the ones who deserve it. I mean,
I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'm past being polite to fucking assholes.
Yeah, it's just like, you know.
But
a lot of people probably fucking, say dumb shit and all that. But
the thing about it,
while I wasn't like, yeah, I'm not worried. After I read the book, I was like, all right, yeah, no, I'm not that worried.
But Adam, exactly. There's types of journalists when they call you.
Yeah.
You know it's wrong.
Yeah, like they have an agenda. They have an agenda.
And they have an evil agenda, and you know it immediately. And they would say, like, for example, stuff like, if you don't say it, I'm going to print it anyway.
And they like to be buddy, try to pretend to be buddy, and like your friend. You can feel that vibe, that deceitful, cunning vibe. So I'm in this for myself. Fuck you. Pretty much. So man. I'll let you get going to the store. I definitely appreciate you coming on and talking to me, because I'm kind of a small...
Where are you?
I'm Massachusetts. Yeah. Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Hopefully, if you ever come by, I can get you to sign this book or something, Sure. But yeah, I'd love to have you on again sometime. We can talk more, and I'll let you go to the store, and I'll send you that review that I did of your book so you can read it.
Thank you.
All right.
I think just send it to the address you had in contact with Tore. And
your friend there, Tor. I forget how to say his name, but your manager. Tor.
Yeah, he's the manager.
Okay. Yeah, he'll get that to you, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
Cool. All right. It's nice talking to you too.
All right, man.
All right.
Take care.
Later. You take care too.
Thank you.
All right.